So B.F. Skinner, he was a North American psychologist, and he believed that all creatures, all people can be taught. And so he came up with this concept of operant conditioning. So operant conditioning, it is a learning process where behaviors are influenced by consequences. So let's picture the scene. You're arriving to your school site. You haven't even stepped onto the campus yet, but you're notified that the student that you support has eloped off campus. So you follow protocol, you start following the student. The student's wandering down a trail that you are not familiar with. The student has never eloped to this area. And as you're following, the trail leads to a freeway. You watch the student walk onto the freeway. How are you feeling as the only educator they're supporting? A little nervous, scared, anxious? Well, let's pause there. And operant conditioning. So it is a foundational principle that B.S. Skinner introduced, showing that behavior is followed by a pleasant consequence and that it would be likely to be repeated. And a behavior that is followed by an unpleasant consequence would be less likely to be repeated. So this is significant because as educators, one of your goals is to create and maintain an effective environment for student learning. And behaviors of concern, they occur and they not only affect the student, they affect the teachers, they affect those within the classroom as well. So we will discuss operant conditioning with the focus on positive reinforcement and negative reinforcements. So positive reinforcement. That is when a response or a behavior is strengthened by rewards, leading to that desired behavior being repeated. So Skinner, he created this lab where he had this box and he put a hungry rat in the box. And as the rat is roaming about, it bumped a lever and immediately a food pellet came out. So as the rat is put in the box again, it's roaming about, bumps the lever, the food pellet comes out again. So now the rat is being conditioned to go directly to the lever, hit it to get that reinforcement, that positive reinforcement. So an example of this would be a teacher giving $5 to every student that completed their homework assignment. The student would be more likely to repeat that behavior of completing the homework because it's getting that positive reinforcement of the $5 for doing so. But as educators, it is understood that not all students will respond to positive reinforcements. And thus, Skinner implemented negative reinforcements. So negative reinforcement is the removal of something that is adverse. So this strengthens the behavior because it stops or removes an unpleasant experience. So back to this box, let me show an image, and some might find it disturbing, so I want to forewarn. So here we see this rat in this box, and now it is being subject to an unpleasant electrical current. And as it's roaming in the box, it bumps the lever and the electrical current turns off. So again, the rat is placed in the box, bumps the lever, the electrical current turns off. So now it's being conditioned that when it's placed in the box, it goes directly to the lever, hits it to remove that adverse stimulus. So that is an example of the negative reinforcement that Skinner used. And going back to the teacher, let's say that the student does not complete their homework and now they have to pay the teacher $5. That behavior would, the behavior of completing the homework would be strengthened to avoid having to pay. So paying is that removal of that stimulus. So the completion of homework would meet that negative reinforcement. So each student is different. And so if implemented, one would want to find what works for that individual student. So we just spent a little time discussing operant conditioning, focusing on positive reinforcements and negative reinforcements. And operant conditioning, it is that foundational principle that B.F. Skinner introduced, showing that behavior is followed by a pleasant consequence is likely to be repeated. And a behavior that is followed by an unpleasant consequence is less likely to be repeated. And this is significant again because as educators, one of your goals is to create and maintain an effective environment for student learning. So this brings us back to the freeway. According to Skinner, all creatures, all people can be taught. So even in challenging situations, he feels that all people can be taught through consequences, whether those consequences be positive or negative, those reinforcements. So this is what Skinner believed. Do you share those same beliefs?